Hi guys, my name is Rohan.
And my name is Akash, and welcome to our first ever podcast of our show, Runs and Acceleration. So basically, we are two university students, and we love having conversations about two sports that we really enjoy, cricket and Formula One.
This is just for fun. This is something for fellow enthusiasts like us, but also for people who are just getting into the sport or want to give either of them a try. So we're trying to be relatable to newcomers or beginners of the sport as well. So we'll try and keep it really simple. And most podcasts will focus on one sport in particular. So if you're doing a F1 podcast, there won't be anything about cricket and so on. So it's easier to follow. Now, we've loved to talk about Formula One and cricket for years in whatever way we can, sharing memes, news articles about what's happening. And I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned from each of the sports. We've learned a lot, and I think a lot of people have shared their lessons learned. So we thought since these are two global sports, sharing about them on a public platform, so maybe we could connect with more people who have an interest like us, but also maybe we could connect and expand the base and meet more like-minded people or someone who wants to hear these things or wants to learn more about, maybe we can bridge the gap in that sense. So that's our purpose here, and we hope you enjoy watching it.
Yeah, so sit back and enjoy, and we'll go through and welcome to our first episode, essentially. So I think firstly, one thing both Ruhan and I definitely wanted to talk about was we got a massive event coming up in cricket as the World Test Championship looms over in a few
Yes.
weeks. So I think it's really important that we do a little bit of a preview on that. We've got two great teams, India and New Zealand, going up against each other with great Test records now, and with really
Definitely.
really strong teams. So I think we will start with India. So let's maybe we could do a little bit of context, maybe on a few of the series. So I think we should start at Australia, right? From
Absolutely.
where, yeah, I think everything. I think everyone has to start there. Um, from where from where I think India started with being bowled out 36 and just what was it, a
Their
session and a
lowest
half?
ever, our lowest
Yeah,
ever test
something
total.
like that. It was a session and a half. It was crazy. Um, just a crazy game. I remember one of the commentators saying that you just have to put the ball there and it would find the edge. It would find the
And
edge and go
Indians will
straight.
nick it. And that
Yeah,
happened
it
back then.
was. Yeah. But I think the one thing, to be honest, I've personally, I mean, I've seen Indian teams go to Australia before, and I feel it was almost considered impossible to win in Australia. But I think, I mean, how do you? I mean, what are your thoughts about this? That I think this Indian team is probably. I think the heart of the fight is really there in this team that we
True.
see. Yeah.
So I think for me, this, I've watched highlights of a lot of earlier series.
Yeah.
I'm
Hmm.
a big fan of Sachin.
Yep.
So, I've watched series when he used to play. And I think the key difference between our teams then and now, it's not talent, because we
Hmm.
had a lot of talent back then.
Yep.
It's the fighting spirit and that X factor to deliver in the most pressure-based situations.
Yep.
Because
Hmm.
we've always had some great batsmen in a Sachin or Kohli versus a Dhoni, all these players have been there,
Hmm.
but when it comes to the point where maybe one of them is not firing, who's going to step up?
Yep.
That's where we had our weakness. And I
Hmm.
think it's very important to mention that the biggest takeaway from this series was our young bowlers.
Yep.
I think
Hmm.
before the GABA test, when the series was level 1-1, and for those who don't know, GABA, the stadium in Brisbane, is Australia's biggest fortress. They hadn't
Yep.
lost a test there for 32 years,
Yep. Hmm.
and we had a terrible record there. So
Yeah.
going into that, there was a stat which said that Australian bowlers had taken a total of 1,013 wickets together,
And
whereas
we
the
had
Indian
taken
attack going
13. Yeah.
13,
Yeah. I remember
because
that. Yeah.
in the infamous 36 all-out first test match that we lost badly, we
Yep.
lost our premier swing bowler Shami,
Hmm.
and I think Bumrah was injured in the third test match,
Yep.
and Umesh Yadav also was ruled out. So the three fast bowlers we went with were all ruled out, and
Yep.
our three net bowlers who were just there to give batting practice
Yep.
became our frontline seamers.
Hmm.
And for them to go about and deliver the results that they did,
Yep.
it just shows the caliber they have. And also Washington Sundar as a
Yep.
youngster,
Hmm.
just a couple of years older than us, I think
Yeah.
24,
Yeah. 20,
I guess.
22, something like that. Yeah. No, I think that's, when you think about it, that's actually kind of insane, because when you actually look at that Australia lineup, it's really really decent. I actually think it's a really good lineup, and I think
Definitely.
before when India won in Australia a few years ago, people thought, oh, because there was no Steve Smith, no David Warner, the team was sort of in like not shambles, but they were trying to find themselves,
Yeah.
rebuild their character and everything like that. These are quotes from their Amazon Prime show, but no, I mean they were
The
really trying to
test.
find them. They were really trying to find themselves, and I think they've had some excellent. They played some excellent cricket, great stuff in the Ashes before. They
Definitely.
had. They destroyed Pakistan when they came there. They just had so much success already, and I think that's just having breaching the GABA essentially.
Yeah.
It's probably like I think for many of fans, it was, they'll never forget this moment.
And I think it's also important to mention the GABA, breaching the GABA was only made possible by the previous test,
Yeah,
the Sydney test match.
yeah,
For those who don't know, India was down and out chasing an unwinnable total of around
yeah.
400 on the last day on a
Hmm.
pitch that was turning squares, seaming, bouncing. And we had one of the best partnerships, a couple of great partnerships.
Yeah.
Firstly, Pujara and Pant,
Hmm.
ice and fire.
Yeah.
Pujara 50 of 200 balls,
Hmm.
Pant 50 of 30 balls.
Yeah, something
And,
like that.
the
Yeah.
way, yeah, and they
Hmm.
dominated. And after they got out, a lot of people switched off the television sets. I remember it was the first day of our new semesters in
Yeah.
school.
Hmm.
And during classes, we were keeping track of the match.
Yeah.
And one of our players, Hanuma Vihari, he tore his hamstring, yet he batted for 3 hours
Yeah.
against that bowling attack.
Yeah.
And
And
Ashwin
also,
with back pain.
yeah, Ashwin. Apparently, Ashwin couldn't even get up, and like he couldn't even like sleep
Yeah.
the entire day or something like that because his back was essentially gone. So, and they were like trying to
And
fight for that
Jadeja had a
draw.
broken thumb. He wasn't even
Yeah,
supposed to
yeah.
bat, but he
So
was going to take an
if a
injection to
wicket
bat.
fell, it was kind of, I don't even think people, I can't even think like that. Then I don't even know where we would be. But no, I think that draw kind of signaled a lot of things, because I think when you saw Pujar and Pant, and maybe this can be a little bit more of a segue into those players specifically, but I think when we see Pujar and Pant, as you said, fire and ice, it was purely like that. We had Pant said, you know what, let's do this. I'm only going to
Yeah.
get this opportunity really once in my life to come here and like actually make my statement. Let me make my statement. He's already been, he copped a lot of criticism of first keeping, and then people had
Yeah.
said,
Comparing
with
him to Dhoni.
comparing him to Wirdaman Saha, because essentially he's the
Yeah.
better keeper. But all those little things, and he's just like, what, my natural game is to play freely. If I get out playing, a rash shot, who cares? Like, I think that's the kind of
Yeah.
mentality where I think Pant had that. Not sorry, Pujara had that mentality of, look, I'm here to like block as much, and if say Punt goes for a rash shot or something like that, there's still me. I'm still gonna, I can fight for the draw here. I can do. I'm gonna tire them out.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that when you see from Sydney to Gabba, making the Australians bowl so many overs. I remember they took it to almost that last. There was only like one over remaining. They didn't bowl the last over because they didn't. It was like pointless. But
Got
like
120 overs or
something
something
like
in
that, yeah.
Sydney.
And then going straight away to Gabba, I think it was also a little bit of a quicker turnaround. I remember it must have been like super tiring for the bowlers to go there and actually execute and deliver. So I think for me, Australia was points of, we had the highest of highs of winning the Gabba. We had the lowest of lows with the 36. We had
Yeah.
so many different kinds of
And doing
moments.
all that without our captain and the world's best batsman. Virat
Yeah.
Kohli went home after the first test. We didn't
Yep.
have him. We didn't
Yep.
have, the main guy
Yep.
at number 4. And to win without him, um, I don't know. It was just amazing. And not
Mm-hmm.
to mention in the Gabba test, we were behind. We were almost
Yeah.
in a situation where we'd have to follow on. We were more than
Mm-hmm.
200 runs behind and 6 wickets down. A
Yeah.
young Washington Sundar and a Shardul Thakur, both of whom have not really even played for India that much.
Yep.
Their
Mm-hmm.
debut test matches score 150 runs together,
Mm-hmm.
get us almost to par. And
Yep.
then the last day chase again with Pujara just taking so many blows,
Yeah.
getting breaking his fingers, his head. I don't know how many injuries he must have
Yeah,
copped
no,
there.
no, no. It was like I literally thought like it was like you had like a wounded like boxer going up against in in like a last round, just taking all the
Yeah,
punches, just trying to last until the bell rings, essentially like that.
yeah,
But no, it was kind of I think in a weird way. I think even when you look at sports sometimes I don't know. I just feel it was inspiring to see that, like in a
definitely.
weird way. Like I don't usually say that a lot. I mean, if your team wins, you know you're like super amped up
Yeah,
and everything like that. But I think we before this test series, I kind of had the feeling, you know what? I think Australia, they got the better team. They've got the better team. They've got the better lineup and everything like that. Especially on their home conditions. But I
exactly.
I think India just proved everyone that like it doesn't matter
To
what kind of
beat
conditions.
Australia, the Australia's A team with Steve Smith,
Yeah,
who scored centuries as well. He was in form. Labuschagne
Labuschagne.
was.
Yeah,
All of them in form, beating them in their own backyard. And we know Australia is the most hostile of places for a
yeah,
visiting team. And for
yeah,
us to do it not just with a B team, but more like a C team, where half the
yeah,
players were literally making their
mhm,
debuts towards the last match of the tournament.
yeah,
And to win that series, I think was the biggest litmus test a team can ever pass.
yeah,
And I think it's as big as a World Cup win. It'll go down as, one of the greatest touring
of
sides of
course.
all time
Yeah,
to achieve what they did.
hmm yeah. And I think one thing we were talking about, after Kohli left, and his there was some the talk about how he had to go back for the birth of his child,
Yes.
everything like that. And I think a lot of people were concerned about we don't have a Kohli, so who's going to come as captain? But I like to think we got a silent assassin in
In
Rahane
Rahane.
just he's such a I mean I was looking at that GABA in that GABA win. He was just sitting super
Yeah,
calm, everything like that, but went on the field, put out like some of the most aggressive fields I've ever seen from an Indian team.
yeah. I've
And
never seen that from even a Dhoni.
yeah,
Virat is known to be a more defensive captain. I
yeah,
know he's very aggressive on the field in terms of his emotions, but as a captain, he's always looking to save runs.
yeah,
Whereas Rahane was like, I don't care if he hits you for 10 runs in an over, he hits you a couple of boundaries. If there's a chance you can nick him off,
yeah.
put the fielders in.
hmm Yeah. No, I just think that also like, bringing up the field sometimes and having some more fielders just around the batsman just kind of affects them psychologically. It's not gonna. It might not do
Definitely.
anything. It might not do anything. It did it sometimes, not all the time, but it was really just you might have a little bit of a small little chatter here and there. So I think
Mind
that's why,
games. Yeah.
yeah, something like that. So I thought that was something really really interesting.
And I think that's why I'll say for the upcoming Test Championship, I don't
hmm
think New Zealand can get complacent because he still is our vice captain with Kohli back.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a player to watch because he also scored one of the best hundreds I've seen in a Boxing Day Test match
Oh yeah.
on a day where the ball was swinging like anything. You have the world's fastest, most lethal bowling attack,
Yeah.
and he stays there, scores a century in overcast conditions in
hmm
front of that crowd. Amazing.
Yeah. No. No. It was that century just highlighted to me that it was all I was hearing a lot of like the chatter after what happened in that first test in Adelaide, that there was a lot of things of let's not try to overthink, overanalyze. Look, we just had a bad day, we just had a bad session, we're just going to rule it out as that. And I think that India know that that's not them. That was they were just outplayed that day, and you're gonna have those kinds of moments. So
Definitely.
I think just just not overthinking about those things that sometimes was really really good, and having all kinds of players contributing. I remember even
True.
I mean after Rahane, I think even I remember Jadeja made a pretty handy knock of some 50
Yep.
odd or something like that. So all
Yeah.
those little contributions at the end, they mattered so much. I think even Shubman's form also came to Shubman Gill's form we came to
Yeah.
see how talented the young guy is. And I think there was I think from Australia, maybe we can now move on to the next series, maybe in England, and I mean against England, that happened
Against England.
and in India. I think there was a lot of expectations on them in a way. Yeah.
Yeah. And it didn't start off great. We lost the
Yeah.
first test in
Pretty
Chennai
pretty
in
badly, I would have to
pretty
say.
poorly.
Yeah, pretty
Um,
bad. Yeah.
Root, their captain, scored 200 something.
Yeah.
He swept his way, he swept us out of the game
Yeah.
basically. They batted for more than almost 2.5 days, half a
Something
test
like
match, and we
yeah.
couldn't get them out at all.
Yeah.
And then we came to bat. And we were seeing, Pujara came in, he got a quick 550. Pant was looking great. He was on
Yep.
60, 70 odd. And we were like, oh, it's back to that. But then I think Pujara had one of the unluckiest dismissals you can have.
Yep.
He tried to play a shot off the back foot, hit a close-in fielder on the
Yeah, it
chest or
was like the
something, and just
back or something, like the back or
yeah,
shoulder,
back
like
or
on the shoulder
something, and
blade.
it just popped up,
Yeah.
which a freak incident.
Yeah.
And then Pant got out playing a punch shot, which you kind of understand.
Yep.
And suddenly, we were down and out. Kohli wasn't great, in great form then,
Yep.
and our bowling was a little off. But I think again, it just shows for us to win that series again. It shows the ability to fight back,
Yep.
and it does scare me a little that we take like one match to warm up. The
Yep.
first one in the series we'll lose, and then we'll come back to win
Yeah.
because the world final is just one test match.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get that leeway.
Yeah.
But
I think that's definitely one thing, but I feel that sometimes when maybe I don't know what your thoughts about this, that when the expectations, like, just, I mean, India already has so many expectations, but when it's kind of gets to a
always,
really
yeah.
really heightened level, like that kind of level where, okay, they're going in as massive favorites into this test.
Yeah.
I think that's when they kind of maybe just crack under the pressure in that first test, and then they kind of need that mental reset. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Yeah.
I think it's happened before.
Hmm.
The I know no cricket fan likes to talk. Indian cricket fan likes to talk about this match, but the 2017 Champions Trophy final against Pakistan.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
I remember I was in the restaurant with my family, and they were showing the match preview on TV, and there
Hmm.
were already animations that Kohli is gonna come and lift the World Cup because he's like the Bahubali of cricket. All these
Yep.
kind of jokes were in the media, everything like that. And I
Hmm.
remember my grandfather telling me that don't get so excited. There's still 100 overs to be played,
Yep. Hmm.
and that's exactly what happened. Their opening batsman, who we had clear plans against, who
Hmm.
was the biggest danger, Fakhar Zaman, we got him out very cheaply, but then Bumrah bowled a no ball on that.
Yep. Hmm.
That cost us, and the guy goes on to score a quick fire 100.
Hmm.
Pakistan just almost take us out of the game in the first innings itself.
Hmm.
Chasing, we lose Rohit, Shikhar, and Virat, our big three, within what, 5 overs?
Yep. Hmm.
And again,
The
I know
Hardik.
Hardik Pandya came
Yep.
and played a blinder of a knock, but
Yep.
I do believe by then it was really late.
Yeah, it was like a
And it
lost
was
cause
again an
almost.
exam.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And
Hmm.
it's not the first time it's happened. I was actually analyzing since the last Champions Trophy win we had under Dhoni.
Yep.
We lost the 2014 final in the T20 World Cup.
Yep.
Then in 2016 we again lost the T20 World Cup in the semis at home, which
Yep.
we really shouldn't have lost. There were
Hmm.
at least three no balls bowled in that Test match for
Yeah. Hmm.
Simmons, and he scored some 90 odd, which changed the game.
Hmm.
In the 2015 World Cup again, semi-final stage. 2019 again, the infamous semi-final with the Dhoni run out.
Yep.
But
Hmm.
again, our top order failed there again. We lost 3 wickets within 10 overs. So I think when it comes to those very crucial stages, for some reason, we haven't been able to fire. And that's why I
Yep.
said that this 2-0 win against Australia, we were able to win those big moments, those
Yep.
X factor moments.
Hmm.
So I do have more hope, but I'm still circumspect based on our history.
Yep. Hmm. Yeah, I think more a little bit, like, just going on more about that. They definitely think that when we look at India, we always see them, performing kind of, in the 2019 World Cup, they were like, I thought personally that they were one of probably I think them and England
Yeah,
were probably the best teams in that tournament. And then Australia was starting to come up again. They found good form in Warner and Finch, and
true.
and Stark was literally bowling like crazy that time. So I think everything kind of was coming together. People thought it was all going to be, us possibly lifting a World Cup away from home. And I think if I think the more we kind of do it away from home, the
the bigger it
the
is. True.
significance, yeah, the significance goes up way more. But yeah, I definitely think that Australia that this Australia series kind of changed a lot of like people's thinking that, you know what, like I also feel that there's that mentality like, okay, who cares? You know, it's like it's let's just
Exactly.
go out there and let's just go play our cricket. You know,
Yeah.
we let's like try to shut off everyone and let's get into it. So I think I just want to kind of go on to our next kind of thing, and it's kind of a question I've got for you is, you know, when we look at India, especially when we're looking at this next World Test Championship, who do you think, you know, we've maybe back in the day, India's pace bowling attack was nothing to be, you know, we had guys like Zaire Khan, Ajit Agarkar, maybe all the way back to
But it
Kapil
wasn't
Dev.
something to be
Yeah, it was nothing
really
like, you know,
confident
to
in.
be talking about, you know,
True.
that we had that other teams have had. So where do you think, you know, for like India's maybe fast bowling lineup, because there's quite a few options now after we've seen from Australia, that you know we got such a good kind of bench squad and reserve squad. Who do you think kind of stands out for you and like maybe a few players? Yeah.
I think I've never seen anyone have the swing, the position of the ball and the perfect seam and produce swing like Shami.
Hmm.
He's had quite a few injuries. He's quite injury prone, so I'm a little
Yep.
circumspect again. But he's definitely my biggest pick.
Yep.
It's also important to note that Ishant Sharma, his infamous spell of 7 for 74 at Lords, that
Yep.
victory,
Hmm.
he has been a revelation in his last 20 test matches. I saw some stat which said in his first 80, he was averaging 35 runs a wicket. And the
Hmm.
last 20, he's averaging just 19 or 18. He's almost cut it by
Wow.
half.
Hmm.
And for someone his height to bowl that full, it's
Hmm.
very difficult. But when he does, he is almost unplayable.
Yep.
And I think for the first time heading into a championship, our bowling is our main strength
Yep.
because I do believe with New Zealand's bowling attack, which we'll explain further,
Yep.
is definitely one that's going to challenge India. It's challenged them before. In fact,
Yep.
the 2019 semi-final we just talked about, the very
Hmm.
similar bowling attacks, many of the same players caused a lot of trouble to us to knock us out. So
Hmm.
I feel if we have a chance, it's going to be mainly from bowling because it's also England. So
Yep.
with Bumrah, Shami, and Ishant, who I think will be the three pacers picked,
Hmm.
um, can they take at least, I think, 15 or 16 wickets with Ashwin and Jadeja? I don't know if Jadeja will play, but
Yep.
Ashwin should play definitely as the spinning option. And if he can get a couple of wickets, can we take those 20 wickets
Yep.
in a test match? Because I think that's going to decide who takes the trophy home.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think when you're talking about the bowling, for me personally, I think you kind of have to kind of segue straight away into New Zealand's batting, and I think for me,
Yes.
New Zealand's batting surrounds kind of around Williamson in
Yeah.
every sense
True.
because I truly think that he's probably the greatest batsman right now. Because you know any kinds of conditions doesn't matter if it's swinging, flat, stopping, doesn't really matter. You know, he finds a way to
True.
score and finds a way to score a run. Um, but you know, I think what you know we've just you know just England and New Zealand just played just played like actually today or yesterday or
Yesterday.
whatever right like that.
Yeah.
So they drew the match, but I think you're finding you know little heroes and like Devin Conway. That's like that was actually the main other person
200
that was
on debut at Lords.
yeah, yeah, at but at age 29. So where's this guy been
That's true.
actually? Yeah, where has he been? So
Yeah,
but
that's true.
no, it was super impressive. They've got guys like Latham who were really really consistent back in like 2019. I remember. So
True.
they, I think the one thing I think what India kind of have to be, they have to treat each and every batsman I think as a threat. In a sense, and not
Yeah.
just say that you know we have you know that star Ron Williamson that if we pick up his wicket, I mean it's great, but it's not going to guarantee you a victory or
And I think,
anything.
yeah, you bring up a very good point because we have been the victims of overconfidence in the sense a lot of big matches we've lost. It's not that the player you were expecting it from,
Hmm.
like a Williamson came and smashed you for 100 or 200. It's actually not happened like that. Most of the times we'll get the David Warners and Steve Smiths out quickly, but then it'll be the guy you didn't really expect or
Hmm.
you weren't really prepared for. You were like, okay, he's just another batsman in the lineup, and they come and destroy the
Yep.
whole match for you. Like Maxwell in the 2015 World Cup semi-final, no one was really expecting him to do anything. He
Yep.
wasn't in great form. We took him lightly, and his innings basically changed the game.
Yep.
And this has happened with India quite a few times. In fact, since it is with New Zealand, and this was actually before our time. This was in 2000, an ICC knockout trophy like the Champions Trophy.
Yep.
We were playing against New Zealand in the final, and they needed to chase some 270 odd, and we got them 80 for 5, something like that. And we thought, we'd won the game, everything like that.
Yep.
Somehow, they had two all-rounders who came and took the game away from us from there because we were expecting we'd already won. So I think it's that thing where our set pieces work, our set plans for certain batsmen work, but as
Yep.
a whole, we sometimes forget that we need to take all 10 wickets.
Yeah.
And that's been the biggest challenge for us.
Yeah. No, because the one thing also I think with New Zealand that maybe they kind of have they have a one up against India is that they kind of bat a little bit deep. I was just watching like
True.
Neil Wagner, like man, he was making some incredible shots. No,
Yeah.
it was so impressive.
A number 10,
11.
right?
And I think he came in number 10 or number 11, something like that. But they can. I mean, at least they can swing around the bat at least, and I would say we sometimes kind of forget how important the lower order runs can be, but those can be the difference between establishing that kind of 60-run lead that you might need or something. But I'm just looking at both the lineups and I'm thinking, really, I think for me, I think this is going to be really a test of who's going to bowl better, especially on England tracks. If you're gonna if India can somehow cope with that swinging ball and kind of cope with the reverse swing at Southampton, and if the New Zealand batsmen can cope with the swing and everything like that of India, and just kind of the discipline that you see with Shami and Ishant and everyone and Bumrah, and just those kind of the trickery from Ashwin also. I think I actually then really I think if they're both quite equally matched, and you can tell that pretty quickly sometimes, based on how the days play. So I think if it's kind of equally matched, I don't know if we can really see who's going to be really winning this then, to be honest. Yeah.
True. And I think if that happens, then it's fair that both teams take home the title or share the title. But that's the best thing about Test cricket. You can have 3 days where it's looking like, this Test match is going nowhere. It's going to be a simple draw. Everything is fine. This team is just dominating the other, or they're just matching each other. And there's just that 10 minutes of a session can, change a game so quickly.
Yep.
And that's the main thing. For India, it was not a 10-minute session, but maybe a half an hour in that session in Gabba where we were 6 down, and Washington Sundar and Shardul decided they're not going to hang around. We thought, okay, they're going to try and hang around till tea, maybe something like that. They were like, no, we're just going to hit. And that 40 odd runs before tea just changed the whole complexion of the game, and suddenly Australia was on the back. So these momentum shifts can happen a lot because there's also 5 days. So that's why I think we both love Test cricket, because we know that even though many people joke about how it's 5 days and you can still not get a result, it's actually one of the most strategic games you can ever play in sports.
Because there's a battle within a battle within a battle, almost like that.
Exactly. Every day, every session, every over, something can happen that can change it. And there's so many twists and turns to it. It is like a chess match. You can sometimes you pick bowlers, and this is maybe more, for those who follow cricket a lot, but just to simplify, sometimes you don't pick bowlers because they're very good. You just pick them because they're really tall, like it was for Ishant Sharma, because he's more than 6 feet tall. He has really large feet, and he has a heavy foot when he lands on the pitch. And when he does that, he breaks apart the pitch. And as the days go on, if he just keeps doing that, then from the other end, when Ashwin bowls, it creates a rough for him. Where you place the ball. If the ball bounces there, it can spin sharply and it can create a lot of trouble for the batsman. It's just one example of how there's a lot of strategies going on more than just the pure ability of the player. So I think now moving on, we've talked about the Indian bowlers. It's really important to talk about the New Zealand bowlers. And I think that's what I'd like to ask you, who do you think from the New Zealand lineup is going to be our biggest threat, and who
Mhm.
might be the one we're not really expecting but should be very careful of?
Okay. I think okay. Yeah, I think there's a few things there. Definitely, I think New Zealand possibly has one of the best pace bowling attacks I've ever seen,
True.
in the world, without a doubt. But I mean, I think a lot of people want to say I think the Southie, Tim Southie, and Trent Bolt, because they're swinging the ball a lot, and everyone kind of has that feeling. Oh yeah, India are going to struggle with the swinging ball. I definitely believe that they're the threats. But I think for me personally, I want to give it to I think someone like Neil Wagner. I think Neil Wagner is probably going to be
Yeah.
in the toughest bowler to face, just because
Mhm.
he's not a massive swinger. He just do that. He's I think he kind of reminds me kind of like a like he's a left armer kind of Glenn McGrath. He puts it in areas where I feel like as a batsman, it would be so annoying to play him. I was watching a few kind of, if you remember from when New Zealand and Australia were playing in
Yes.
Australia, he
Yes.
kept on hitting Wade and Smith and everything. It was just like it's so metronomic. You can't even do. You have to be inventive with your shots, and then
True.
they can set a leg side field, for your pull shots or whatever like that. So you have to really be very kind of play in a different style, and
True.
he'll exploit that. So I think that's the issue for India, is that just that how much discipline do they have? If say Wagner is going up, putting up a very good spell up against someone like Punt, how long until he cracks or something like that? Does he come down the
And can
wicket?
he see
Does
off that spell and just have that sense that, there's runs to be scored at the other end
Yeah.
as well?
Yeah. So that's why I think it's someone like him. I also think someone like Kyle Jamieson, because I've
Mm,
noticed the guys who get the extra bounce really struggle. We do really struggle with that. So just that
true.
little bit of extra bounce can kind of start we can just get into that frame of mind of a very kind of, I would say, very defensive and a little bit of a scared kind of frame of mind, that oh yeah, we just want to we just kind of we can't really do anything about it or something like
True.
that. So I I definitely think that if we can find a way to cope with it, it's going to be pretty tough given the conditions and given England and everything like that. I don't think I don't know if the weather forecast or anything like that's been there, if it's going to be overcast or not. But I think it's I'm personally just intrigued to see how India go about it, and I'm also super intrigued to see how New Zealand go about it. I think pound for pound, I do have to say that I think India outbat New Zealand, pound for
I
pound,
think
like
so.
that. But I'm quite interested to see, because I always see that New Zealand, it's always that one two guys that always become the hero. It's not really, you have like each person scoring like a 40, 50, something like that are contributing. It's like someone who's scoring a massive century, and it's
True.
not it might not be, like the best strategy, but it's a strategy that works, I would say. Yeah. Hmm.
True. I think it's important to realize that India now is a team of shot makers.
Yep.
We love to play our shots, except maybe a Pujara who's more conventional.
Hmm.
Both are openers. I don't know if Mayank Agarwal will play. That's a different debate also, which openers do we play? Shubman. And we were talking about Shubman earlier and praising his performances in Australia, but then we went to India and he struggled like anything.
Yep.
So I think, yeah, this is something maybe we can talk about in our future sessions, because maybe do a bit more of a deep dive into each team.
Yep.
And it's going to be really interesting on what happens. I think all three results are very much possible.
Hmm.
Um, and I think whatever happens, these teams have done a lot to deserve their
Yep.
place in these finals.
Yep.
There's been points changes, away tours, all of that.
Hmm.
So I think it's going to be a really interesting game. And let's just hope for a great one.
Yep.
We'll try and keep you guys updated on whatever happens and maybe do a bit more of a deep dive in our next session on the
Yep.
strengths and weaknesses of the players.
Hmm.
So we just like to thank you for tuning in for our first session.
Yep.
Do let us know what you think. We would love to hear your comments, and we
Hmm.
love to have your support. So please share this video with your friends who you think might want to watch,
Hmm.
and subscribe to our channel. And look forward to being with you guys soon again.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Thanks, everyone. See you on our next episode.
Thank you.
Bye bye.